All right, I will call us to order. If you're able, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, let's move on to our roll call. Board Member Randall.
Present.
Board Member Rial. Board Member Barraza.
Present.
Vice Chair Bernal Morales.
Present.
I am present as well. Moving to 1.4, our land acknowledgement. Pima Community College acknowledges that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Tohono O'odham and Pasquayaqui peoples who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. We recognize their enduring presence and contributions to this region. As we honor this history, we commit to learning from Indigenous communities and supporting their sovereignty, culture, and rights. All right, let's move on to 1.5, our public comment period. So I have 4 cards here. So let's start with Michaela Hayes.
Good evening. Chancellor Nassy, board members, colleagues, and guests. First of all, I can't believe it's already the end of the semester. It feels like it's been a really long year, and also it's August. I don't know. I'm still trying to come to terms with both. So I looked at the board agenda tonight, and I saw that you had the budget coming to you tonight and some salary recommendations for employees. And I just wanted to thank both David B. and Tina Neal for working with faculty and having conversations with us. We're on the same page when it comes to getting a step, the minimum increase. We really appreciate the change to the supplemental pay rate and the fact that the health insurance is maintaining the baseline. Yeah, it's finals. The supplemental pay rate's super important for us, and we were really happy to see that move up just a little bit. That is the work that is done outside of teaching. It's all the extra little things that we do on an hour-to-hour basis that is not taken care of by our load, and especially for our department leadership. They get hourly pay during the summers when they're not on contract for our non-month faculty to help compensate for the summer leadership they do. So we really appreciate that adjustment. Hopefully next year we are going to meet earlier in the year, and we're going to start conversations to look at the structure itself. One of the things that we have noted is that the max salaries of the faculty table are lower than they were prior to class and comp. And so that conversation is something that faculty want to have. Is it appropriate? How do we move forward? Making sure that faculty know where they may end up in the future and count on for retirement. So one of the things that I wanted to bring forward is a question just kind of on behalf of all of us for faculty, but this is a me question, not a PCCA question as much. There are efforts at the state level to look into the funding for the ESA vouchers that have ballooned over $1 billion in kind of unchecked state funding per year. Meanwhile, PCC and Maricopa aren't getting state funding for operational funding from the state, and we're cutting $4 million and another $1 million for next year. We have vulnerable funding for basic ed, so I'm hoping that we're looking at how we can assist our community partners and our legislature to understand that it's important to us to have accountability for such a large unchecked fund on our state budget. So thank you so much for your advocacy and for caring for all of our students. Thanks.
Thank you.
Time left.
Next, Dr. Kelly O'Keefe.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, board members, Chancellor, respected colleagues and guests. My name is Dr. Kelly O'Keefe. I am, first and foremost, full-time faculty. I teach in the Health Information Technology Department as well as being the department head, and have been for about 6 years now. I am also currently serving as the Faculty Senate President. I am speaking to you to provide an update on the Faculty Senate's role regarding the Accelerate initiative. My goal is to clarify how we plan on moving forward through the principles of shared governance. We recognize that a shift of this magnitude requires deep pedagogical insight. And to that end, it is expected that Senate representatives will be integrated into the planning committees to incorporate faculty voices. The ones directly delivering instructions, we are central to this conversation. We are focusing on maintaining academic rigor, ensuring student support structures are robust, and addressing the logistical realities of a condensed schedule. Crucially, I want to highlight the evolving partnership between the Faculty Senate and the Provost Office. The Provost has demonstrated a commitment to transparency by involving Senate leadership in key decision-making milestones. This isn't just about Accelerate, this is just the beginning. It's about building a sustainable framework where the administration and the faculty work together and are true partners in the college's strategic direction. While challenges naturally arise with any major institutional change, we believe that this collaborative approach is the best way to serve our students. By prioritizing shared governance, we ensure that the Accelerate initiative is not just a structural change, but a faculty-supported success. I want to make sure the board is very well aware that the faculty are wanting to work with the college to make this successful. And in doing so, everyone else wants this to be successful as well, so we're being involved. This is the plan. It's just the beginning of the plan. We haven't started our meetings yet. June 30th, I believe, is our first meeting with the Provost Office and STAR. STAR, the Faculty Senate, and the Provost Office will be coming together to create faculty feedback surveys, and those will be delivered frequently so that we are getting feedback from faculty and have the ability to incorporate that into the Accelerate initiative. And I want to thank you for your time and your support of our collaborative efforts. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next is Katie Brown.
Thank you very much for having the time to have me here. My name's Katie Brown. I've taught with the college for more than 25 years. I rebranded last January so that I could be a climate action sustainability teacher with the program here. I'm also faculty advisor to the Student Climate Action Campaign Club that they started this spring. And I happen to be a member of the City of Tucson's Commission on Climate, Energy, and Sustainability. I was astounded and dismayed last night to hear that the Office of Sustainability is planned to be eliminated, along with much of that program, and that is horrifying to me. I wore my Pima Community College shirt today because I work for Pima with pride, and the Climate Action Sustainability Plan that you have is amazing, and it is an example to many other places. We have meetings with Maricopa community colleges at their request so that we can talk with them. I go to Zooms with LaGuardia and CUNY because what is happening is national, and community colleges are in the middle of this for many reasons, and it is central to the mission of Pima Community College, I think, to be at the forefront of this community and student and workforce change. I have a statement here that I would like to read from Crystal McKenna, Dr. Crystal McKenna. She asked that I read it. She is out of town, and she said, "Good evening, Chair and members of the board. I am reading this on behalf of Dr. Crystal McKenna, who serves as faculty and department chair in climate action and sustainability at Pima Community College. I'm here today to respectfully request a pause and reconsideration of the decision to dissolve the Office of Sustainability. This request is not simply about a single office. It is about institutional alignment, accountability, and our credibility as a college. Pima's own strategic planning process emphasizes responsiveness to community needs, strong partnerships, and long-term environmental sustainability as a guiding principle. At the same time, the Climate Action and Sustainability Plan, which was adopted and approved by the board, established clear goals that require coordination, implementation, and ongoing stewardship. The Office of Sustainability has been the structure that made that work possible. Through that office, the college established its first energy and greenhouse gas baselines, achieved a 54% reduction in emissions, expanded on-site solar built community, expanded on-site solar, built community partnerships, supported biodiversity and campus ground initiatives, and helped position Pima as a national leader, one of only 12 institutions applying for the Carnegie elective classification. There's more. I will put this into the record if I don't have time to. Thank you very much. This is really important.
Thank you. And you can email us the rest of that too if you want to make sure we have the full text. All right, our final speaker, Mary Jane, is it Blanton? Sorry, yeah, that's right. Okay, Blanton, please.
Okay. Do I start it myself, or do you guys start it?
It's automatically when you start.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mary Jane Blanton. It's my second semester. I'm a first-year Pima student. I'm taking multiple classes, but my favorite class is my Climate and Sustainability 101 class. I won't get her on the phone for you or anything, but you could ask my mom and she would tell you I'm a completely different person since before and after taking this class. Learning systems thinking, how to effectively communicate about the climate crisis, learning how this all applies to initiatives and work being done here in Tucson are only just a few of the concepts that have transformed my life that I learned in just the 101 class. I was very disengaged in society and very nihilistic about the impact I could have as a person at all. The sustainability department has changed that for me. They hosted Climate and Community Day, and attending was required for my class. This event hosted over 20 community partners who are doing work in Tucson to make Tucson more sustainable. And I'm so grateful for that because one of the speakers that day is now someone that I'm on a path to working for. It's called Transforming Terrain. They do sustainable landscaping work here in Tucson. But they showed me a realistic pathway, and I want to give back to Pima now, and I want to keep going to Pima, and I want to help my classmate Miguel with his aeroponics project that aimed to work with the ARC pantry at Pima and reduce food insecurity for the average Pima student, as well as increase their food sovereignty, which basically means their access to nutritious food. I was excited to maybe take on a project of my own in the summer, and projects like this, I worry, wouldn't get really funded by other departments because they wouldn't necessarily be great projects for those departments under their metrics. Like, for example, a project I really want to do that I was being told was a good idea by people from above me, but I don't know, I guess maybe it's not that you're dissolving the department now, but it was to utilize rainwater that's falling on the hill in the circle at the Desert Vista campus and just cultivate more edible native plants and then maybe make a practice at Pima of sustainably harvesting those, and maybe it could become a thing with the culinary department that we have like native plant program. You know, I'm just spitballing. I'm gonna go to the last part of my thingy. But do you see how that type of initiative can't really fall under just one department? It needs the sustainability department to navigate it and tie the things all together and fund specific initiatives that don't really fit under any one specific umbrella. And I don't understand how sustainability could not be seen as a core part of college, which is the language if I'm interpreting correctly, is being used by the people making this decision. I saw it on a LinkedIn post from someone who used to have a job in the sustainability department. And I just don't understand how it wouldn't be a role of a community college in Tucson to help Tucson prepare for the coming climate crisis. Also, it's not an unpopular department. Our Climate Action Club has like 80 interested people, nearly 30 members. It's the fastest growing club. The 101 classes need 2 different professors to teach it in person because there's so many interested people. There's multiple other courses that have double the students taking them online. So yeah, buzzer beater.
Thank you. All right, I think we have one more, someone who's online. Gwen Schwartz, are you with us? Oh, I'm sorry, in person. Please, come down. It's all right, please join us.
I'm an in-person person. Hello, I'm Gwen Schwartz. I am full-time writing faculty. This is my first year at Pima. And I am also now the faculty fellow for the 8-week initiative. And I had the opportunity to travel to El Paso a few weeks ago to experience what one of those colleges has done to transfer their courses into an 8-week system. Overall, we spent a whole day with them, faculty, students, and staff. An overwhelmingly positive experience. It was incredible. And I think for some people, they might have called it a conversion narrative. For me, I was already almost hooked, so it wasn't that transformative for me. But for many people who have not yet experienced what people can say about how students experience success in those kinds of terms, it really is amazing. So a few things. The overwhelming sentiment was happiness. The students were happy that they changed. The faculty were very happy that they changed, and that was something we weren't suspecting. Some people said that if they had to go back to a 16-week schedule, they would quit or retire. So that was news. Their success came about because of a very thorough and thoughtful process. And I want to highlight that as my comment because our administration has just given us another year to do some planning before we have a year of preparation. And we're kind of separating those two out now so that we can do this well and do it successfully. And I'm very thankful for that. They had a dedicated dean to make this planning and transition happen. That was fabulous. They had support for faculty development to redesign their courses. They had a collaborative faculty community who was willing to be uncomfortable and to change. And they had time. So here's what we need. We need more opportunities for more faculty to be able to see what other schools have done, so more of our faculty can come on board. And as Michaela said, we have to have a way to have the Faculty Senate work with our faculty to make this change work well for everyone. And I just wanted to say that trip for me was very useful, so thank you.
Thank you. I think that was our last one, unless there's another card coming my way. No? All right. Let's move on to 1.6 then, the audit results for fiscal year 2025, presentation by the Arizona Auditor
Excuse me,
General.
Chair.
Yes.
I have seen a couple of these little messages from people who are online. Did anybody sign up? Well, they needed to sign up in advance if they wanted to sign up online. I'm just wondering, are we sure that nobody had signed up by the deadline for online speakers? Okay.
Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, so if there's anybody else that wanted to share comments, you can always email us. All of our emails are on the website. There's one that goes to all of us, or if you live in one of our districts and you want to reach out to the individual who represents you, our individual emails, actually, I think it's just district4@pima.edu. It's pretty straightforward, so you can certainly send us email comments as well, and we'll make sure we read those and respond to them if you didn't get a chance to speak tonight and you wanted to. All right, moving on to 1.6 then. Where was I? So we have a presentation. I lost my place here, but here we go. Folks from the Arizona Auditor General's office.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, members of the board, Chancellor. I am Taryn Stengel, and I'm the Financial Audit Manager of the Pima County Community College District Audits. Joining me today is Renee Carrasco, who is the Deputy Manager over the 2025 audits. Thank you for having our office join your regular meeting today to present the audit results and findings for Pima Community College District. Before we discuss the district's audits, I wanted to present information on the Arizona Auditor General's background. The office is a legislative agency made up of nonpartisan staff. We provide impartial information and specific recommendations to improve the operations and programs of state and local governments, which does include Pima College. We are well-versed and follow several standards, including government auditing standards. Similar to our previous presentations with the board, we are here today in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes 151473, which directs the district's governing board to require the auditors, which is the office, to present audit results and any findings to the board in a regular meeting without the use of a consent agenda within 90 days at the completion of your audits. This is a great opportunity for us as your auditors to be in front of you and to provide information about our work and answer any questions that you may have. Audit responsibilities. We send communication each year to your board at the beginning of the fiscal year that outlines our responsibilities over the financial and federal audit and walks through some of these responsibilities with you, followed by the district's responsibilities. And as the auditor, our responsibility is to plan and conduct an audit of the district's financial statements and federal compliance audits in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and uniform guidance. Obtain reasonable assurance about whether the district's financial statements are free of material misstatement. Reasonable assurance is high, but it's not absolute level of assurance. With that being said, there is always a risk that we may not identify a material misstatement, and noncompliance is always higher due to fraud than from an error, because fraud may involve a collaborative effort to commit the fraud, management override, or lack of internal controls. We did not identify any fraud on the fiscal year 2025 audit. We consider internal controls relevant to the district's preparation and fair presentation of their financial statements to design appropriate audit procedures. We perform tests of the district's controls and their compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. We communicate significant matters for both the financial statements and federal compliance audits. This is completed through communications that you receive directly from our office. And then we express our opinion concerning the district's financial statements and their schedule of expenditures of federal awards and whether they are fairly presented. Similar to our responsibilities, the district management is ultimately responsible for the operations of the district and ensure the following: prepare and fairly present the financial statements, note disclosures, and all accompanying information in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and uniform guidance. Design and implement internal controls over the district's financial statement preparation and internal controls to prevent and detect fraud, and also to have proper internal controls over grant agreements and ensuring no waste or abuse. Evaluate and monitor the district's compliance with laws and regulations, contracts, and grant agreements that have a direct and material effect on both the financial statements and its administration of its federal programs. Provide auditors with their views and their risks of fraud. Follow up and take corrective action on audit findings, including providing your auditors with a corrective action plan and a summary status of prior audit findings, and then providing auditors with unrestricted access to staff, documentation, information systems, and resources necessary to complete the audit. Today, we will discuss our audit work of the 3 required annual reports. This includes the district's annual comprehensive financial report, its report on internal control and compliance, and the federal single audit report. And as we've done in the past, when we've issued each of these reports, we have sent you an email notification that links to the specific reports. The first is the district's annual comprehensive financial report. This presented the annual financial statements and our opinion on them. The objective of the audit is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether those financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue a report that includes our opinion. And it's wonderful, as in previous years, the district had an unmodified or a clean opinion, which means the district's financial statements are reliable. The second, the report on internal control and non-compliance, is where we report any findings and recommendations resulting from our financial statement audit. In this year's report, we issued one financial report finding we found during our financial statement audit, and Renee will go over that finding with you shortly. Finally, the third and final report that we issue is the federal single audit report. This includes our assessment of the district's compliance with federal programs that we specifically tested. It includes the objective of the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether material noncompliance over audited compliance requirements occurred, whether due to fraud or error, and express an opinion. For fiscal year 2025, we issued an unmodified opinion for the 3 programs that we audited. And because we know that these reports can be lengthy and complex, we also include within our single audit report highlights. It's a 3-page summary that you received, and it includes information on key financial information over the district and any findings that we issue. Presented in this graph is a 5-year trend of the district's revenues, expenses, and its net position. The district's revenues are shown in light blue, where the district's expenses are in dark blue. For the last 3 fiscal years, the district has spent more than when they've actually received. The district's revenues have ranged from a low of $211.6 million in fiscal year 21 to a high of $254.1 million in fiscal year 2025. The district's primary revenue sources have stayed consistent and consist of property taxes, federal grants, tuition and fees, and state appropriations. In addition, expenses have remained consistent, with the primary expenses being instruction, institutional support, academic support, and student services. The main reasons that the expenses exceeded revenues in fiscal year 2025 was primarily because of an increase in payroll and contractual expenses. Additionally, the black line represents your net position. The district's overall net position decreased by $10.3 million in fiscal year 2025. This net position is currently a total of $172.3 million as of June 30th, 2025. However, it's important to note that not all of the net position is considered spendable. $146.3 million of that balance is net investment in capital assets. There's a $12.8 million that's considered restricted, and the remaining $13.2 million is unrestricted. Next, I'd like to recap the federal expenditures that the district has received. This is included in the single audit report on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. Although the district received grants from 9 federal agencies during fiscal year 2025, you can see that the table shows that most of those expenditures are from the U.S. Department of Education. And primarily those expenditures consist of the Student Financial Assistance Cluster, which is being passed through to students. Renee will now discuss our audit results, which includes the status of prior year audit findings and the one financial statement audit finding that we included this year. Thank you.
Good evening, Board Chairperson Taylor, members of the board, and Chancellor Dr. Nessie. As Taryn mentioned, I will now discuss the audit results. Before we discuss the findings reported for the fiscal year 2025 audits, we would like to acknowledge the district's progress in correcting prior year findings. Our auditing standards require that we follow up on any prior year audit findings until the findings have been fully corrected. In 2024, we reported 1 financial statement finding and 1 federal compliance finding. The first finding reported was a financial statement finding that the district did not restrict access to its investments accounts by removing terminated employees from authorized signers list. This finding was fully corrected by the district. Second, For the Student Financial Assistance Cluster, the district did not perform required calculations to determine if free funds were due to the U.S. Department of Education when students withdrew from the institution. The district updated its student information and fully corrected the audit finding in fiscal year 2025. Moving on. In the report on internal control and compliance is where you will find the one financial statement finding along with the district's response. The financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the district's control procedures over IT systems data for restricting access, which increases the risk to the district's IT systems and data. Specifically, the district's control procedures were not sufficiently developed, designed, and implemented to ensure all employees complete the district's required monthly security awareness trainings to help prevent unauthorized or inappropriate access or use, manipulation, damage, or loss to its information technology systems and data. This included an increased risk that the district may not adequately protect its IT systems and data, which could result in unauthorized or inappropriate access and/or the loss of confidentiality or integrity of systems and data. The district's IT management reported that its policies lacked consequences for employees who failed to complete the district's required monthly security awareness training. To correct this finding, we recommend the district make it a priority to develop, document, and implement policies and procedures to ensure all employees complete the district's required monthly security awareness training by developing consequences for employees who failed to complete the training. 2, provide all employees ongoing IT security risk training and their responsibilities to ensure systems and data are protected. The district anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by June 30, 2026. Are there any questions that we can answer you concerning the district's audits?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No questions? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 1.7, summary of current events by governing board members. Board Member Randall, is there anything you want to share?
I had a few events that I attended. The first was our first annual, hopefully, college open house. I was able to, since District 3 doesn't have a campus, I feel that all the campuses are mine. Sorry, y'all. So I hit 3 of them in a night, and the chancellor thought that maybe I had been speeding on the road unsafely to get to all of them. I did not. The first one we went to was the Desert Vista campus, where my little son was able to put on the VR headset and learn how to cut chicken in a commercial kitchen. Very cute photos. Then we went to West Campus, where we visited the phlebotomy program, and that was really neat. And then we went to the Northwest Campus, where my son got to build a little boat and do some cool stuff, because they did that one with their STEAM event as well. So I really hope we could see more of these. I thought it was really cool. I thought the showing was great. There were a lot of kids around. I also, a few weeks prior to that, I went to the Pima Community College Climate Community Day at downtown campus. That was April 21st. It is an annual, although it is a fairly new event that brings together climate leaders, students, PCC staff, and faculty. And we were there to celebrate and discuss climate topics. I would also like to celebrate the quickly growing Climate Action and Sustainability series. I'm so impressed with the program offerings that I am working with Andrea to try to sign up for one of the classes this summer. They have some pretty cool offerings. I'm having a little bit of a problem signing up, but we'll iron that out. Some of my takeaways for that, Dr. McKenna had a great quote, "Climate and sustainability aren't just subjects, they are lenses for seeing the world." And I thought that was a very beautiful thought. The keynote speaker, I'm gonna just mess up this pronunciation, Dr. Katua, said, "Hopi is one of the few places I know where corn is raised to fit the environment and the environment not manipulated to fit the corn." if that isn't a deeper truth of something that we could use in today's world, then I don't know what is. So, thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Rio.
I'm going to speak about the AACCT also
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
I've had a very busy month, but I haven't attended hardly any of the PCC events. So first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to all faculty, staff, and administration for another great year. I hear students all the time saying that this is the best place that they've ever attended, and you're just doing a great job, and we're really proud of all of the efforts and energies you put into making those educational opportunities and dreams actually come true for our students. So please keep it up. Have a safe and happy, enjoyable, hopefully a little bit of rehabilitation during your summer so you can re-energize for next year. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the AACCT, Arizona Association of Community College Trustees meeting. So all of our chancellors and presidents of the community colleges get together. They're called AC4, and then the Board of Trustees get together. Twice a year we have meetings, and this year it was for all of our trustees, but there was some snafu in getting the invite, so I was the only one that attended. So I'll remind everybody well in advance when we first decide the date in the next couple of months. But it was a very interesting meeting. They always talk about any changes in the state statutes as far as Title 15, which affects education, which governing boards are in that area. And there were a couple of nothing significant. It's what we already do. They also had a big discussion on open meeting law, and it never hurts to hear that information again from a different perspective, because we always get some new idea. They also talked about executive sessions, and so I did email Jeff Nassie and Dr. Nassie and Chair Taylor, because what I had heard there was a little different than I think that we have been doing it. So in the next while, it'd be nice to get an update on that as to what's exactly the situation there with executive session. AI-powered successes in Cochise College. They have an AI center that they will teach us for people who want to have, not us necessarily the board members, but us Pima College employees. If you need a different or a more convenient access to AI education, that's available. And then the last thing that was very interesting was Nick Polder, our lobbyist, gave us a legislative update of the state actions that are happening and also the federal. And one that I was vocal about was they said that they did not take a stance on the one that was going to allow vet techs to not have to go through our program. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. 2 of our community colleges have vet tech programs. We always need to protect our programs from, unintended bad things happening in laws like that. So I hope we can pull that communication between AC4, the presidents, and the chancellors, making sure that, if our 2 chancellors are concerned about it, I think that's another thing that the trustees can do. We can advocate to the other trustees to make sure that it's everybody's concern if it's one of our concerns. So that was that. Okay, and have a wonderful summer, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Barraza.
Since our last regular board meeting, I attended the Student Employee of the Year Awards ceremony, and also the Student Leadership Recognition Awards ceremony. And I just want to thank faculty and staff for all the mentoring and support that they provide our students. I think it makes a real difference and really empowers them to step up and want to take leadership roles that really improve the student experience at the college. I also attended the Building and Construction Programs ribbon cutting event with Board Member Randall and Board Member Morales on April 14th, and also the Finance and Audit Committee, where we heard the report that we just heard from the Auditor General. Last Friday, I attended the college-wide open house at Northwest Campus, which is my district campus. And I want to thank the chancellor and all faculty and staff for making that possible. I think it should be, I would hope it's an ongoing effort. I think it's a great opportunity to open our doors to the community. And as this becomes more of an ongoing event, I think more of the community will find out about it and, feel or are encouraged to come and see all the program offerings that we have, our facilities. I talked to a lot of community members over the weekend after the event who had not heard about it, but piqued their interest. So I would encourage us to keep having that event. I want to recognize, I had the opportunity during the event to tour the online digital media production studio, which produces high-quality content for the college's online and hybrid courses, and I was really impressed with not only the studio, but with the staff's and faculty drive to improve the way that we deliver our online content. And I'd like to thank the Chancellor and Provost Rourke, who I heard that because of some federal funding, some loss for our Title V, that they were able to find some additional funds to continue with the studio. Of course, the gap in funding is still there, so perhaps we could find some money in order to complete that studio, since it provides such critical work for our faculty. And finally, I'd like to thank Don Guerra from Barrio Bread, who not only gave a class, but also donated a lot of bread. And as you know, it's a coveted item in our community, and you didn't have to stand in a long line like you usually have to, since it's so coveted. But just overall, it was such a great experience, and everybody was so welcoming. And I signed in when I first came, and I received a call yesterday. So I think the college is doing a great job. Hope we continue with that and make sure that our community knows that doors are open, they can come and tour. We need to show off not only the great work that we're doing, but our facilities.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morales.
No, are you asking me about my report? Okay. Actually, I had the pleasure and privilege to attend many, many, many Pima College events, but rather than focus on telling you all about that, I actually want to take the time to congratulate the more than 4,500 students graduating in a week or so, and also congratulate the faculty, staff, and administrators that have ensured that this happens every single semester. So congratulations to the graduating class. And for those of you that are going to plan to continue or want to start all over again, make sure you register for your summer classes already. Thanks.
That was a good commercial. I like that one. Thank you. I just want to echo the comments about the open house day. You know, I spent that evening on East Campus, which is the campus in District 4, and it was wonderful to get to interact with all the families and the students who came out. So certainly to Jade Borden and Jim Craig, who I spent some time with when we were there. I did the full cybersecurity tour and saw all the things with those families, and there was even a family there that came up from Nogales who were interested in that program. So I think it's definitely something that was worthwhile to make sure individuals have an opportunity to know that they're welcome to come on campus, that they're welcome to meet faculty and leadership and our administrators to talk about the programs that they themselves might be interested in, or in that case, there was a lot of family members with that student who were asking a lot of questions about what was going to go on in that program. So that everybody's welcome, and it was a wonderful evening. So thank you to everybody that made that possible. Certainly on East Campus where I was, but all of our campuses as well. So with that, let's move on to 1.8, Pima's mission moment. We're going to see Dr. Irene Robles Lopez and the Student Senate update.
Good evening, Board Chair Taylor, board members, Dr. Nassi, students, colleagues, and guests. It is my pleasure to introduce our mission moment this evening. My name is Dr. Irene Robles Lopez. I serve as the Vice Chancellor for the Student Experience. And so tonight we have the opportunity to highlight our Pima Community College Student Senate. And so I will ask Jennifer Madrid, our Dean of Students, and our senators to come up. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Board Chair, members of the Board of Governors, Chancellor Nassi, colleagues, students, and distinguished guests. My name is Jennifer Madrid, and I serve as the Dean of Students for Pima Community College. It is truly an honor to introduce today's May Mission Moment, highlighting our 2025-26 student senators. Over the past year, I have had the privilege of getting to know each of these student leaders, and I can genuinely say it has been inspiring to watch their growth. Under the mentorship of our student engagement coordinators, these students have balanced the responsibilities of being hardworking, dedicated students while also serving in Student Senate and a completely voluntary leadership role. Despite busy academic schedules, jobs, family responsibilities, and personal commitments, they continuously showed up to represent and advocate for their peers across the college. Throughout the year, I've watched them develop confidence in their voices, strengthen their leadership skills, and build meaningful relationships not only with one another, but also with college administration, faculty, staff, and students across all of our campuses. They have demonstrated professionalism, commitment, collaboration, and a true passion for improving the student experience for Pima Community College. Some of them are graduating next week and intend to either transfer or enter the workforce, and we wish them well and really hope that they find time to come and share their new experience with us and what they're doing in life. So today's Mission Moment highlights not only the accomplishments of the Student Senate this year, but also the impact student leadership can have in shaping a stronger college community. It is my pleasure to introduce the Pima Community College Student Senate.
Hi, it's nice to see the board again. My name is Rachel King, and I'm the chair of the Student Senate as well as the representative for Northwest Campus.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is David Rojo. I'm the student representative for the downtown campus and as well as the student representative. No, I mean, they gotta come. Or you want me to press it? Okay, whatever. So for the fall highlights, so Kate and I, we had the privilege to attend the ASGA event in Washington, D.C., and Nikaylee and Talia were able to join us, and we were able to go to workshops and learn from other students who are in student government over there. And we also participated in the fall Welcome Back event. So we were able to table there. We got nearly all the senators over there to table and actually advertise for the town hall event. And there we were able to take questions from the crowd and try to come up with some solutions and really address it for them. And in fall, we also had over 30 hours that were logged in, and that's just across the whole board from all the students documenting their hours. And Rachel King, our chair, Northwest representative, Northwest senator, she was actually on the Pima show. I'm not sure if you guys keep up with the podcast that we have, but you guys should totally check that out. It was pretty neat. She was able to talk about what Student Senate does and our goal, and also pretty much also about herself and her plans for the future. Thank you. Now I'll pass it on to Rachel.
Hi, we didn't get to introduce two of the senators that are present today, so they're going to come up and introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mehak Mittal, and I am the Student Senate representative from the West Campus, and I'm graduating within a week.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marina Rangiani Hada, and I'm the student senator representing the East Campus. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about things being out of order. For our spring highlights, we held a special election to elect Mehek, Marina, and Spencer to our Student Senate. We participated in the Spring Blast event as well as the rodeo parade and represented the Student Senate. We hosted the Spring Student Town Hall where we got to hear students' concerns and we were able to answer their questions regarding things at Pima. The Student Senate collectively dedicated 30+ hours to meetings with our campus vice presidents and the administration. And I'll move it on to Spencer online.
Hi, my name is Spencer Cruz, and I am the student senator for the online campus. Our project aimed to collect student data on the current and potential food options at each of our college's campuses. We focused on our smart vending machines, bookstores, and expanded meal access. Each student senator collected results during the week of May 4th. The Student Senate would like to continue to expand on this work for the upcoming academic year, and thank you for that.
Regarding our Student Senate project, we held a survey across all of our campuses, and about 80 students completed the survey. The survey results revealed a very high demand for more affordable food options on campus. Bookstores, food trucks, and vending machines were only used about half of the time by students, and they feel unsatisfied with the options they're being given. Students generally wanted healthier options like hot food or a deli bar, for examples. Thank you to the Chancellor's Office, Board of Governors, and Student Affairs leadership for supporting the development and success of Student Senate. The Student Senate would also like to thank the campus vice presidents and administrative leaders for their dedication and support this academic year. The Student Senate also expresses gratitude to all students and to the staff and faculty of Pima Community College for their continued work and dedication to empowering learners to transform their lives and fulfill their goals each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your service to the college. We really appreciate it. Yeah, a round of applause for all of our student senators. Any questions, board? No? All right, well, let's move on to 2.1 then, our administration reports. The first is the shared governance update from Dr. Conover and Michaela Hayes.
Good evening, members of the board, chancellor, colleagues, and guests. Thank you for having us back to do a quick update on shared governance and some of the work that we've been doing over the semester to continue the work at the college as we recognize the importance of this work. So, we've talked a little bit in the past about what we're currently doing, where we're at, what's going well, and where we can grow. And so we've had a chance to report previously about AERC, Faculty Senate, Staff Council, and ACC, some of the initiatives and policies that we've worked together on. There's a long list that you can find at any of these different websites, but I think the important takeaway is that for almost every one of them, through collaborative shared governance work, we've been able to come to consensus and move things forward. We have the opportunity to bring things to the board when things don't go well, and I think we've been able to demonstrate that working together, we've really been able to move things in the right direction. We're not perfect, and we know that, and that's why we're back, is because we want to grow, but things are going well. A couple things that we've identified as areas of growth. We really don't have a college-wide statement about shared governance. It exists in different policies and procedures, but there isn't anything for people to fall back on when they're thinking about the work they're doing and how important it is. And we have shared governance going on in many different places. So folks are sometimes unclear as to what group or groups they should be connecting with to make sure that the input is being received on an important policy. And clear training across the college. One of the things in a conversation I had with board member Real was words are great, functions are great, policies are great, but if people don't engage with the processes, if they don't understand it fully, then it's not going to work as well as we would hope. So college-wide training. So we formed a group, and I'm going to let my AARC co-chair, Michaela Hayes, speak to that.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this definition and this work that we're working on. It is a true shared governance work group. We have about 20 total members. We're looking at representation from the AERC, which includes representative groups PCC, EA, ACES, and AFSCME. So we have our 3 representative groups included in that. We also have faculty senate representatives and staff council representatives. We have people through regular faculty, adjunct faculty, exempt staff, and non-exempt staff, as well as administration. And while we don't have our students represented, because as you heard, they've already done 30+ hours of meetings, we do have people who have student interests in mind, and we do plan on including their opinion, just not having them attend so many hours of that work group. And so they're going to be represented. I don't want them to think they're forgotten. But yeah, we are working together as one big, large group to try to get all of these and other shared governance groups represented. For example, our discipline faculty committees and other groups. Is this me?
It's you.
Still me. So what we're working on together is to create that definition of shared governance so that we're all clear on what we mean when we say shared governance, so that there is a shared understanding of the expectations. We want to look at what's working well within our current model, look at what needs to be improved, and actually codify that within APs or BPs if needed to adjust. The language may need to just be adjusted to really recognize what those are. And we would like to come back to the board and give you the full working group probably in the fall to give you some documents to hold on to. Go ahead, back to Audit.
So tonight we have the starting draft that we've spent many, many hours on around shared governance. This was really an opportunity for all the working groups to share their thoughts, to think about the foundational pieces that are key to shared governance and what we want to strive for as an institution. What will happen with this is in the fall, because this group is only 20 people, we want to share this with faculty senate, staff council, all these other groups, get their input, chancellor's cabinet, leadership. We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to really share their thoughts so that at the end we have something that we can all kind of stand behind that we really believe in. And so we included this as well as some of the key principles. You know, you're never going to be able to capture everything in a singular statement. So these are kind of the driving things that we wanted to talk about that should be behind all the decisions that we do as an institution. And when we think about things, guiding principles that we would like to see people think about as we move forward.
So once these have been really worked through and improved, we would like to have a single place for these governance documents on the website so that people know where to look to find them. We're looking at a flow chart and decision-making tools, so if you have a question on some topic, you know which group your voice is represented through and who's your representatives within that group. And we want to get that feedback from everybody, so not just the 20 people, as Aubrey said, but actually go about and get the wider feedback from all of the groups. Make sure there isn't anybody we've forgotten. And make sure there's any board policies or APs that need to be modified. There's a few that we have our eyes on. We're thinking fall 2026, so maybe October-ish, to bring the drafts back to you with that feedback incorporated, and then look at a spring training. Was not the words I was going to go with, but I'm going to go with it anyways, to go for training for Pima in the spring. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
You get
We'd be happy to have any
Any questions?
I was going to take any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board?
Chair Taylor?
Yes.
You said that there are 20 folks on the committee. What is the balance of, you know, faculty versus admin
Yeah, so I think there's only 2 admin, maybe 3. Yeah. And then we have about 4 or 5 faculty, and then adjunct faculty as well to make sure we have that perspective, and then about 4 or 5 staff members. I can get you the exact list, but we wanted to make sure it wasn't dominated by admin, so there's only a few of us.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you all.
All right, let's move on to 2.2, reports by representatives to the board. So we'll go through, and please let me know if you have anything to add to your written reports, and we'll pause for questions and go for there. So first, our student report from David Rojo. Is there anything you want to add to your written report?
No, that should be it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for David? No? All right. Sarah Kirchhoff, faculty report. Anything you'd like to add to your written report?
Yes, we just have a brief adder to it regarding the Accelerate, the Academic Affairs Forum, really. The Academic Affairs Forum on Accelerate was held directly after the Faculty Senate meeting on May 1st, brought together faculty and academic leaders to discuss progress, priorities, and collaborative strategies that support student success and institutional innovation at Pima Community College. The forum provided an opportunity to share updates on the Accelerate initiative, highlight effective practices and questions, receive answers, and gather feedback from stakeholders. Through open dialogue and stakeholder collaboration with the El Paso trip presentation, the forum helped strengthen communication, promote continuous communication, and advance a culture of excellence across academic affairs as we progress in this Accelerate initiative.
Thank you. Any questions for Sarah? No? All right, thank you so much. Sean Mendoza, adjunct faculty report. Is there anything you'd like to add to your written report?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great summer.
Thank you. You too. Any questions for Sean? Well, Sean's already at the beach, so he's beat us all to the summer. All right. Then there's no staff report tonight from Don Harp. So with that, we'll move on to 2.3, the Chancellor's report. Chancellor Nassi.
Great. Thank you, Chair Taylor, members of the Governing Board. Good evening. Thank you, as always, for your leadership. Yeah, I will move through and just provide a few highlights, as you already have over the past several weeks. Always, May is an incredibly busy and active time of year at the college as we celebrate student success, graduation, we're preparing for summer enrollment, and continue planning for the upcoming academic year. I think what stands out for me as I was putting the report together is just really the breadth of the college's impact across Southern Arizona, and I think you'll see that in the report. You know, on any given week, PC is simultaneously engaged in, you know, of course, educating our students, workforce development, university transfer, undergraduate research like at STEAM, student leadership development. You just saw our student senators. They were very active this year. Great job by our student senate. Employer engagement, community partnerships, cultural and civic programs. So it's a common theme is that work is the service to students and to the community. And tonight's report is just a sample of that. So one important focus area for the college is always to be responsive to the growth and the evolving needs of our region. Recently, our team had the opportunity to meet with Town Manager Terry Rosima and the leadership from the town of Marana to discuss really just extraordinary growth happening in that part of the county and how Pima can continue supporting that growth, their workforce, their educational needs associated with that growth. You also mentioned the open house. We have a few photos there. Thank you for your participation. It was great to have our board members at the open house, and by all accounts, you know, a first time go, but really successful, and we'll continue to build on that next year for sure. Part of that, as you heard Dr. Barraza mention, was our STEAM and Board Member Randall STEAM event on Northwest. Really a great example of experiential learning, undergraduate research, community engagement, all in one. Students presented their research projects alongside faculty, and then we had lots of visitors from the community that participated in interactive demonstrations and really making STEAM education accessible, engaging, and inspiring. So great. I think right before our last board meeting, we participated in the Southern Arizona Optics Industry and Legislative Breakfast. So wanted to report out on that. And as you can see, we had lots of board member participation in that event. It was Southern Arizona Optics Industry. There was legislators there, and it was hosted by Optics Valley. One of the big outcomes of this event was that AmeriCom, the American Center for Optics Manufacturing, is actively exploring Tucson and PCC as a future grant recipient to support equipment and workforce training for optics technicians. And so that was a great outcome. And another event, and I think this is really just another example of how we're engaging across all kinds of sectors in Southern Arizona, was participating in Southern Arizona's Education Council's Evening to Empower Education. And this event recognized educators, counselors, peer mentors, administrators, and community partners who really work with students every day. And, right, student success is always strongest when institutions work together. So school districts, of course, higher education, local government, and community organizations all contribute to that educational ecosystem for Southern Arizona. Some of the board mentioned the building construction technology ribbon cutting, a great event. And again, one of the highlights here is moving these programs from a 2,500 square foot facility to a 22,000 square foot facility. It's my understanding enrollment growth is up around 20% since last year. So these programs continue to grow. And that was a great workforce event, of course, great opportunity for our students. We also hosted the Raquel Rubio Goldsmith Lecture and Scholarship Fundraiser Luncheon. I was joined there by Board Member Morales for that event. A tremendous event featuring a renowned author and scholar, Cherry Morega. This is put on by our Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies and Sociology program. It is a long name. We call it EGTSS. But great event attended by lots of people in the community. As you can see, a picture of the crowd there. And it really honors the legacy of Raquel Rubio Goldsmith. And I learned she's one of the college's founding faculty members and an early leader in Mexican American Studies and American Indian Studies at PCC. So great to have her there. The mayor was there as well, and we're glad to have her join us for that event. And NC3 signing day. This slide highlights really one of our biggest workforce development events of the year. Board Member Morales was also present at that event, as you can see. And this event really recognized students who commit to workforce certification and career training programs at the college. It's modeled in a similar way to what student athletes do, right? Signing letters of intent. As you can see, they get a really cool hat, and it's a great event. And these are programs in healthcare, advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, building and construction, and a lot of other fields. And then that evening, the foundation put on a great event, was our spring employer dinner. And so this was a gathering of those employers and organizations that continue to invest in our students, our programs, and our workforce development efforts. They work closely with our programs, they hire our students, and so it was great to see that strength of partnership with PCC in Southern Arizona. Lots of student success events. One here is the Student Employee of the Year ceremony. This is really a fun event. This recognizes student employees working across our campuses and out in the community. They're at 13 community locations throughout the region. Really interesting here. It's a great retention strategy is student employment. Year after year, around 80 to 90% of student employees persist in their programs, remain enrolled, and graduate from the college. So if we can work to expand that, as you know, a strategic priority is expanding work-based learning. It's a great opportunity for us. We also celebrated the All Arizona Academic Team program. These students represent some of the very best of PCC students academically, as well as leadership and service. Students recognized through this program receive tuition waivers to Arizona's public universities, along with PCC scholarships supporting continued educational attainment, and transfer success. This is a great transfer program. And Board Member Morales, I believe you were there with me at that one as well. So you didn't do yours, but I'll include you in my report. And we just recently, I think it was earlier this week, hosted our Honors Awards ceremony and Phi Theta Kappa induction, which recognizes student scholars, academic excellence, and service across the institution. And Board Member Morales also joined us for that event as well. So there's a theme here.
I did say I was at a lot of events.
Here, this next slide, similarly, so these are students who participated in the ACC competition, CASE competition, which is hosted by the University of Arizona Eller College of Management. This is great. This is a competition that really challenges students from community colleges. They compete across the state of Arizona to analyze and present solutions to real-world business case under time pressure. They had like 2 hours to develop their project. This year's, one of the employers was Mr. Car Wash, and he was saying that the work that our students did was really comparable to the work that's happening in their corporate offices and marketing. So it was a great opportunity, great real-world experience. As well as, also on the slide, it's the Student Leadership Recognition Awards. This honors students, yes, but also advisors, organizations, and programs that make meaningful contributions to campus life and student engagement throughout the year. And Dr. Barraza, you joined me at this event, so thank you for being there for us. So that's happening, right? Lots of events celebrating our students, and it really demonstrates all the great work that the college is doing in the community, that internally, working through the college, as we're kind of moving towards the end of the academic year, we've really been spending time, right, reflecting institutionally, thinking about the future. So I've hosted, as I've done since I've come to Pima, listening and learning sessions across multiple campuses to hear from students. Great opportunity to hear directly from employees across the college where we've made progress, where we still, of course, have challenges, and how we can continue to strengthen support for students and for one another. In addition, we also had the Chancellor's Cabinet and College Leadership Council. We've held annual retreats really focused on planning, alignment, accountability, and preparation for the upcoming academic year. And, you know, thinking about going ahead, and we've heard a little bit about it this evening, I did want to close out tonight's report by spending just a few moments discussing what I believe to be one of the most important priorities facing the college, and that is the idea of completion, right? People that come to us seeking a degree or certificate and making sure that those students finish that, we provide them with that credential of value. And to me, completion is one of the clearest measure of whether we are delivering on our mission as a community college. So completion with credentials of value is directly connected, of course, to economic mobility, but other outcomes, opportunity, long-term student success, and candidly, I will say here to the board and publicly, our completion outcomes are not where they need to be for the students we serve, certainly, and for the mission we hold as an institution. And that is why I'm charging our faculty, our staff, of course, our leadership to focus on guided pathways, time to degree, credit momentum, structured scheduling, and improved systems of support designed to help students successfully progress through their programs. You know, one of the clearest things we continue to see both in national research and our own institutional data is that credit accumulation is strongly correlated with persistence and completion. And so that is why efforts such as the 8-week model, calling it Accelerate, you heard this evening, intentional, mandatory advising we're moving into, required student success courses, improved scheduling, and structured pathways. These aren't just isolated initiatives. They're part of a broader institutional strategy focused on helping students build momentum, accumulate credits, complete credentials, and then, of course, transfer successfully and ultimately improve their quality of life, their economic opportunities. Importantly, the work cannot and should not be owned by a chancellor, one division, or one office. This requires institutional leadership and broad, right? This is everyone participating across the college. So we need leadership, expertise, and engagement of our faculty, of our staff to help shape this effort moving forward. We owe that to our students. I want to recognize the leadership of the faculty who spoke today, Gwen Schwartz, who went to El Paso, Texas, our Faculty Senate President, Dr. Kelly O'Keefe, Michaela Hayes, and her work has been great in collaboration, and many others at the college who have been collaboratively with Dr. Rourke. The provost and his team have done great work here as we begin moving forward with plans and really thinking about how to do this in an effective way to improve completion outcomes at the college. And so I'm really grateful for the spirit of collaboration and engagement around this work, because improving completion at the college is not something you're going to do in a year. It's not a short-term initiative. This is a long-term institutional work that requires thoughtful planning, strong communication, continuous improvement, and shared commitment, shared governance, making progress there across the college. And at the end of the day, this work is all about students. It's about ensuring that the students who place their trust in Pima to successfully reach that goal, that career goal, that educational goal, happens while we can continue to serve as an institution that strengthens the broader Southern Arizona community. And with that, I will close, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Chancellor. Any questions for Chancellor Nassy?
Chair Taylor?
Yes.
I just have a comment. Chancellor, I think that it's often difficult to look at your own institution critically. And I really appreciate that you've done that and you've identified the completion rate as an opportunity for us as well as a challenge. I really appreciated when we did our monthly check-in at Dobird last week. And you brought this up, and we've talked about completion rates before, but now with a renewed vigor, I could kind of see you light up. You were kind of nerdy about it, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think Board Member Randall just called you a nerd.
It's okay. It's a good way. Good thing.
I said you just called him a nerd. In the best way possible, yes. All right, any other questions or comments for the Chancellor? No? All right. Section 3 is all information items, but I'd encourage anyone attending or viewing to take a look at those. Section 4 is the consent agenda. If there's any motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I am aye as well, so that passes 5-0. Moving on to, as soon as I can flip the right number of pages, to Section 5, our action items. The first action item, 5.1, is our faculty emeritus. The Chancellor recommending the government and board approve Dr. Amy Kramer, Rob Modica, Mike Stack, and Dr. Ken Vorndren as Pima College. Yes, go ahead.
Kate is prepared to present.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Sorry about that.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, board members, Chancellor, colleagues, and guests. I'm Kate Schmidt. I'm currently serving as the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Academic Resources and Services, but I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Kelly O'Keefe, who you've already met. I'm especially pleased to be here with Kelly because we've been working with Faculty Senate to improve faculty recognition programs. We've long had this emeritus program, but we've been adding some additional recognition programs. So the title of emeritus faculty is one of the highest honors at Pima Community College. It recognizes retired faculty who have demonstrated a career of extraordinary service and a lasting impact on our community. These individuals that you've reviewed today didn't just do their jobs, but they helped build the foundation of the institution that we are.
Sorry, I'm short. Okay, there we go. As you review the 4 candidates sent forward from Faculty Senate tonight, Dr. Amy Kramer, Economics faculty, Rob Modica, Anthropology, History, and Humanities faculty, Mike Stack, Art and Humanities faculty, and Dr. Ken Vorndren,
honors faculty, you'll notice that they represent a cross-section of our colleagues. These nominees were selected because they consistently went above and beyond. As you can read in the descriptions, they served as mentors to their peers, champions for student success, and leaders during times of institutional growth. Their contributions have left a mark on their respective departments, and most importantly, on the thousands of students who have passed through their doors.
So granting this status is the college's way of honoring long careers, and it illustrates that as we continue to adapt and advance, we are standing on the shoulders of those who have come before us. I did want to bring your attention to the fact that this is our first cycle of emeritus nominations with a revised administrative procedure. So in the past, we would have a meeting where the board would vote to approve the emeriti, and then at a subsequent meeting, we would do a sort of celebration and award. The policy now, or the procedure now reads that celebration and award will happen at a much more public event, either the All College Day or All Faculty Day. So we expect that to happen later this year, and really the reason for that was to have a broader audience for those honorees.
So we do recommend that these distinguished colleagues for your approval, and we are happy to answer any questions about the nominees or the process. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for our presenters? No? Motions?
Yeah, I've known all 4 of these people for my entire career, so I'd like to move that we approve these 4 to receive the Faculty Emeritus title.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 I'm aye as well, so that passes 5-0. Thank you and congratulations. And my understanding, they'll all be recognized at the next All College Day, so that'll be a good celebration to be part of. All right, let's move on to 5.2, the 2026 to 2030 Plan Priorities and Integrated Planning Roadmap. I think there's a presentation. Dr. Richmond, is that your presentation? All right, go ahead.
Chair Taylor, members of the board, Chancellor Nassi, colleagues and guests, I'm here today on behalf of the strategic planning team, bringing forward proposed priorities for 2026 through 2030 for the board's consideration. If I can find the clicker, I might use this way. Okay, to tell you very briefly about the planning process, we've had extensive input through a variety of events, including the Futures Conference, internal planning days, data sessions, and student-focused pizza and planning events. Priority development has been led by the strategic planning team. The members of that group are listed within the board packet, and my thanks to the members of the group who've done outstanding work going through all of the input received to try and synthesize this into a meaningful set of priorities. The development process was highly iterative between the strategic planning team and Chancellor's Cabinet, though I would note, because there is a myth that often goes around the grapevine at Pima, that the planning process is it's a front, and really administration just picks the priorities. And that really isn't the case. And while Chancellor's Cabinet made minor adjustments and wording tweaks, the substance of the priorities coming forward from the SBT were not significantly changed through Cabinet review. Finally, we had a survey that went out for input. I'll share some of that survey results with you so you can see what the input was from internal and external stakeholders, including students. As a very final step, my co-chair, Michaela Hayes, and I visited each of the governance groups to take the statements forward and ask, has there been adequate opportunities of input to inform the development of these priorities? And across the board, we heard yes from those groups. So here is some of the highlights of the survey results from last month. So here you see listed the 4 priorities that are moving forward for the board's consideration. You can see the response rate across the different groups. So we had 377 people in total who completed the survey. And for each of these areas, the support or strongly support responses were 82% or higher for each of these different topics. The final draft priorities are the following 4. So first, create clear structured pathways to completion. So ensure students have well-designed guided pathways that ensure timely completion and successful transfer. And as a note, in follow-up to the governing board study session on this a couple of months ago, these have been ordered into priority ranking per the input of the board. The second one is advanced integrated student support, so ensure a high-quality integrated experience throughout the student journey, providing clear, proactive guidance and support. Then we have expand career-connected learning, so provide students with opportunities for career exposure through applied learning experiences, internships, work-based learning, and employer partnerships. And last but not least, priority number 4, improve access to essential resources. Address barriers to student success by strengthening access to external resources, including food, housing, childcare, and other supports through expanded partnerships. Now, accompanying the priorities are a set of overarching principles. These really provide the foundation of how the college will go about implementing these priorities if they are approved by the board tonight. They aren't priorities separately themselves, but they really inform everything across the 4 priorities in the work of the institution. Now, you'll notice these look somewhat different from when you saw them before at the board study session. This is because we've expanded these out into sentence form to make them more action-oriented and clearer what we mean by them. Now, some of these you saw before. There are a few new ones that were added, which I will just highlight briefly. That includes numbers 2 and 3. 2 focuses on our commitment to every learner, whether they are credit, non-credit, workforce transfer, but when we talk about students, we mean every student, regardless of their goal with us. And number 3 speaks to our commitment to meeting community needs. 7 and 8 are also new. 7 was added in response to input from the board at the study session related to external conditions and policy and regulations. And then lastly, we added 1 focused on safety and well-being. While not included in the presentation, these statements were also presented, or rather the themes. These statements were after the survey, this format of them, but the topics focused here across each of these overarching principles. Agreement was 78% or higher with these, and disagreement was 8% or less. The rest were neutral. So we saw strong support for these as well across the survey instrument. And with that, if the board has any questions, I will be happy to answer those. And otherwise, we bring the priorities forward and respectfully request your input and guidance on next steps.
Any questions for Dr. Richmond? Did you have something?
I just have a quick question. In that list, number 6 was talking about the long-term success depends on operational and environmental sustainability. And so in some ways, the fact that we're getting rid of the Office of Sustainability, is that, how are we going to make sure that we are reaching those operations? Are those duties going to be going to somebody else?
It's a good question. So the route forward is based on fiscal considerations, but there is a plan in place to move towards a system in the upcoming year where we identify point people across major areas aligned with the ASHE framework and move forward with a group structure where we have a collaborative approach across those areas.
Will you tell us what ASHE is? I'm not familiar with that.
I'm sorry. These acronyms. It's the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. They have a certification standard institutions can apply to and be awarded different levels depending on the points they earn to indicate whether they earn, for example, bronze, silver, gold, or platinum status. So it kind of gives a good overarching framework that an institution can look to guide sustainability approaches within an organization, specifically focused around higher education. There are a number of key areas touched on there, including, for example, academics, as well as other things such as facilities type areas, so energy, waste management, water usage, things like that. The college has been working in this direction for a number of years, and we've built out a fairly good framework for how we can move forward to improve in that space. But we're really at the point where we need embedded subject matter experts who can really figure out, so for example, from the academic perspective, what's the next step that we can take? Now, academics, we have a very engaged faculty group who've done wonderful things over the course of the last few years. But other areas that come up, for example, sustainability in our technology, sustainability in procurement. There are lots of opportunities there where we can move forward. And to really make substantive cross-college input, we need our subject matter experts across those areas who can take those things and build them into their day-to-day operations. So we have an approach planned for next year that will take us in that direction, which should help propel us further forward in the space of sustainability.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, well then I will move that we approve the 2026 to 2030 plan priorities and integrated planning roadmap as presented, if there's a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? I know we had a whole study session on it, so we had a lot of discussion already, but no. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 I'm aye as well, so that passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Richmond, and everybody else who worked on that. Moving on to 5.3, the restricted gift agreement with Beal Infrastructure Group. The details of that are in the packet there around the 5-year gift beginning June 1st, 2026, expiring June 30th, 2031, with a possible 5-year extension and additional gift. I will, do we have a presentation? Oh, we do have a presentation on that one. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Brunel Morales, members of the board, Chancellor, colleagues, and guests. My name is Amanda Abens. I serve as Assistant Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development here at Pima. And I'm pleased today to present for your authorization and consideration a significant philanthropic investment in Pima Community College. We're seeking approval to enter into a restricted gift agreement with the Beal Infrastructure Group and the Pima Foundation. This agreement stems from a community benefit commitment made by Beal Infrastructure. Out of that commitment, Beal has selected Pima Community College as a beneficiary, pledging a charitable gift of $5,912,992, supporting workforce development and student success. That entire amount is due 100% within 30 days after execution of the agreement, so it will all be paid to the foundation in one lump sum amount. The Provost, Dr. Rourke, and myself have been pleased to work with Beal to identify PCC areas of need and opportunity to support students' access into high-quality jobs and careers. This $5.9 million investment will be utilized over the next 5 years to bolster several of our high-growth workforce programs. As outlined in the agreement, and you'll see that on the last page, the funds are specifically designed for areas of need for Pima to support students' access and success. Those areas include supporting expansion in IT and cybersecurity by funding 3 full-time faculty members, providing student supports in the form of scholarships for several of our programs, including our Pima Fast Track Electrical, our Building and Construction Technology programs, IT and Cyber programs, and our Computer-Aided Drafting, or also known as CAD. And welding as well will have scholarships available. The gift also provides additional funds to help for barriers for students, to remove things like transportation, housing, and childcare to help with successful completion. It also supports students transitioning from high schools, sponsoring Pima for Youth programs, engaging high school students to explore career pathways, and also supports transitioning military and veterans into our programs by bolstering the work of our amazing military and veteran service program. Additionally, it does fund a 1.0 FTE, a career coach, to strengthen employer partnerships and connect our learners to employment post-graduation, connecting them to work and career. The Pima Foundation will serve as the fiscal agent, managing the funds according to their standards and policies, and they will also be receiving a 3.3% administration fee. The college retains the flexibility to reallocate funds among those components to ensure we always meet real-time student needs, demands, and maximize the impact of every dollar we receive from this gift. The initial term does begin on June 1st. It does go for 5 years with a subsequent gift of approximately $6.8 million that could be something that Beal Infrastructure chooses to enter into an agreement with us. We'll review that in year 4 of the 5-year gift. The partnership provides essential funding to help students enroll at Pima Community College, successfully graduate, obtain employment, and start their careers. I welcome any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions? No? All right, I appreciate it. Well, I will move then to approve 5.3, the restricted gift agreement with Beal Infrastructure Group, if there's a second.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on it? No, I'll just say this. I mean, I just want to acknowledge that I understand the environment of controversy in which this happens in terms of the data center development and what Beal is involved with. But, you know, tonight we're facing a choice between a philosophical statement about data centers and a tangible investment in our students. And so I want to be clear that whether this board accepts this gift or rejects it, the development of that data center project continues. It has absolutely nothing to do with the development of that project. All that voting no tonight does, well, voting no tonight wouldn't stop a single brick from being laid or a single drop of water from being used in that data center project. It only stops those resources from reaching our classrooms. And I don't think I can in good conscience tell our students who have now faced nearly 2 decades of disinvestment from the state and now millions in federal disinvestment over the last year that we turned away millions of dollars for their success to make a symbolic gesture that will have zero impact on the project in question. So it's definitely something I'll be voting in favor of tonight, and I think it's something that fits within the core of our mission and our purpose to help students achieve their educational outcomes. Any other comments, questions? No? All right, I will call the vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I was going to say aye
Oh,
also.
sorry, go ahead. Aye. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
All right, then that passes 4-0. All right, let's move on to 5.4, the capital project plan for fiscal year 2027. I think Dr. B, is that yours? I think you're going to cover a few different items, right? I think 5.4 and maybe 5 and 6 as well. There you go.
Good evening, Chairperson Taylors, members of the board, Chancellor Nassy, colleagues, and guests. It is my pleasure tonight to provide an overview of the preliminary fiscal year 27 budget and information in support of the various budget related action items on the agenda tonight. So we'll be talking about the capital budget, the compensation recommendation, and then the preliminary budget. I'm going to do one presentation because I'm going to touch on all of them within the one presentation. As you know, this budget is a culmination of a series of board study sessions and various board action items and decisions that have occurred during the spring. Actually, it starts in the fall. Most of this stuff happens in the spring.
You probably use the arrow keys on the laptop. I don't know where the clicker went.
That would work. So there are 4 main things that we're going to do, and then I'll touch on what's on the slide. But what the budget does is it sets the maximum spending limits and the budget levels that are on the state-approved, formalized, statutory required forms so that we can publish that information. Should have known.
Chancellor took it.
Should have known. The nerd. The nerd stole the clicker. Sorry, nerd adjacent is actually, I think, more appropriate to how it was described. So it sets the maximum spending limit and then sets the information that into the state formalized statutory required forms so that we can publish that information for the taxpayers to review the proposed budget. The second thing it does is it identifies the recommendation for the tax levy so that if there's an increase that requires a truth in taxation process, that we go through that process. And then the board would formally decide that in June. Third thing it does is the action items that's specific to the compensation will define the compensation parameters so that we're able to set the contracts in place, set the pay changes in place in the system so that come July, the pay increases that are approved will go through and hit people's paychecks in the first pay period in July. And then lastly, it outlines the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 27. So I'm going to talk about all of those within the parameters of the presentation. I'll try not to be too long as the evening has gone on a little bit long. One thing to always emphasize is that the budget that we're talking about, the preliminary budget, it establishes the maximum spending capacity. It doesn't require all the funds to be spent. And it allows for future reductions if revenues come in differently. What it does is it sets you cannot go higher than the amounts that are set in the budget. Talking about this, and none of these should be surprising to the board, as these are all the things that have come through the different conversations that we have, but want to again highlight the things that have gone into the budget and the priorities that have been folded into this budget this year. As always, the budget is designed so that the college is meeting its strategic and planning priorities on any given year. Second, that it provides and really this budget shows the prioritization of our employees in two big ways. One is that it has increases for employee salaries and wages. Again, the detail is provided in your action item, but to quickly summarize that, it is to provide a year of experience / step, depending on how you talk about it, if within the scale, or a 2.5% increase, whichever is higher. So if someone is at the maximum of the scale, it would be a 2.5% increase. If someone is within the year of experience and they moved up a year of experience, or they were already above the year of experience part, the target that they would have, it would be a 2.5% increase. But if the year of experience increase and where they would be on the salary schedule is higher than 2.5, they'll get the higher. In addition, there is an increase, and this was referenced earlier in the public comment, it's the recommendation to increase the supplemental pay rate for faculty by $2 from $33 to $35. That puts us really in parity with peer institutions. Maricopa and Coconino both have very similar rates to that. That increase is around 6%. And then also the recommendation is to increase the adjunct faculty load rate by 3%. That's both tiers by 3%. And again, the detail is in that action item. The other key compensation commitment that's in this budget is that the college, and this has also been discussed many times with the board and the action item has already occurred, but that the college is facing a large increase in medical coverage costs for its employee medical benefits. And this budget includes absorbing that very large increase. We're expecting it could be as high as $6 million. We're absorbing that without increasing the premium costs for employees. This is really significant. Many employers, if they're facing a big increase in that, would address the increased cost by a shared distribution and pushing a bunch of the costs to the employees. So I think we can be very proud that we were able to absorb this big cost increase without premium increases. That also is a pretty big commitment to our lower earning employees, because when you make changes to the premiums, it has a disproportionate impact on those who have families and have to provide support for the families through the medical benefit program, and their earnings are lower. So the increased cost is higher, but their salaries are lower. So it really does help the lower earning employees a lot at the college. So I think we should all feel really good about that. Then it covers mandatory contractual increases. It includes there, you'll see in the grants area and the restricted fund, unfortunately, the reduction in some of the federal grant programs. A couple of them can come back. So if they come back and the funding comes back in, we have contingency available that will be able to handle that if that is to occur. But there is a reduction in our federal funding coming from those decisions at the federal level. As you know, we've made big strides this year in reducing. The chancellor had a goal to reduce the ongoing operating expenses by $4 million. We are right there. We're at about like $3.8, $3.9 million. Totally confident that by June we will have identified, in fact, I think we'll be over $4 million, and we'll have headway going into next year because we have a target built into this budget to reduce another $1 million in ongoing operating expenses. So that's a combination of either reducing positions by identifying efficiencies or identifying other operational reductions through our processes at the college. And then lastly, and I'll point out a couple of places where you'll be able to see this in the various charts. It includes the possibility that the voters, and hopefully probability, that the voters will approve the college's initiative to issue GEO-bond debt. So if they approve that in November, come January, we would then be able to go out and issue debt. And from that issued debt, we then need to build into this budget the ability to spend the money that we could issue in the first series that would happen in January, February timeframe. So, and again, that gets back to what I was saying, it's a capacity document. We have to build in the capacity that should we get that authorization, we'll be able to move on and act on it. If we didn't build it into the budget, we could do it, but we couldn't start spending the money because we may not have the capacity built into it. So that's a really good example of why we talk about this as a capacity document. Overall, this is what the budget looks like year over year. So current year budget is $333 million, give or take. And then the proposed budget is $346, almost $347 million. You can see that how it's spread out in terms of the different revenue sources. The property tax increase includes the recommendation to increase the levy by 2%. Tuition and fees, the board has already acted on that. Grants, contracts, and financial aid, you can see the reduction. That's what I was talking about, the reduction from federal grant programs that have reduced. And then the last other thing that I want to point out is the college equity numbers, sort of that yellow part of the pie. That's what we've been talking about the board, that we have the monitoring what our days cash on hand is and spending down reserve balance. It actually was also mentioned earlier in the Auditor General's report that we have had plans to spend down some of our reserves, building up the capital infrastructure at the college, but that we need to stop doing that. So you can see in this document, you can see that the expectation of using college equity is declining. It still exists, but don't worry too much, because a lot of the college equity also is, some of the stuff is built into reserves that we won't use. Again, it's for capacity. It's for the possibility that we might need to use it. It does not mean we will spend down $46 million. This is another chart that shows some of the same thing, but shows it historically over time. Again, you can see in that fiscal year 27 with the proposed asterisk, you can see that bond proceeds show back up again, and that the college equity number is starting to shrink back down. Grants and contracts are shrinking. And then the two bigger increase categories are the property tax revenue and the tuition and fees categories. In terms of expenditures, this chart shows, again, we're balancing, we have a balanced budget in terms of how you show the revenues and expenses. So this shows the proportion of it that goes to the different employees by employee type, as well as just the blue is personnel-related expenses. Operational expenses are going down a little bit. Again, that's related to our making efforts to reduce our ongoing expenses. And then you can see that capital is going up here because of the possibility of spending some of that bond-related money. Okay, next steps are going to be after tonight, assuming that we get approval to go forward with the parameters as spelled out in this budget. That then requires the truth in taxation process requires us to publish twice in a newspaper. So on May 21st and June 1st, we're scheduled to publish in the Daily Territorial. There's a press release that we will also be issuing on the 21st, and then that sets us up to have the public hearing and special meeting on June 10th, and that's where the budget will formally be adopted. Okay, just to shoot through a couple of other pieces, I'm not going to spend too much time on the additional information, but it is worth seeing some of this, is that this shows what the difference between the levy neutral, this is the tax information, we'll have this in the upcoming June meeting, so that if there are any taxpayers who are interested, we'll highlight this particular item. The 2% increase generates about $2.9 million of additional revenue. That's the comparison between the far column, which is called levy neutral. That's just growth in new property. That's the $1.8 million that you see there. And then the difference between that and the $4.7 million is what that 2% increase in the tax levy generates. In terms of the general fund revenues, you can see, again, this is the same thing we've talked about. Property tax levy and tuition fees are covering most of the operational increases, and then the decrease in the use of fund balance is what we were talking about. The idea is we're intending to stop spending down reserve balance going forward. In terms of expenses, this is on the operating side of the budget, so this takes out capital and then shows you, this is probably the more familiar one where you can see just how heavy on the operating side of the budget, how much is based on personnel expenses and how it's split out. And then that's the key thing. It's almost 70% is what you're talking about on the personnel side on our operating budget. It's very typical for a college. In fact, it's actually fairly healthy. When it gets up above 80% is you have an unhealthy organization. Again, just additional information just spelled out in terms of the general fund and the different categories that are being spent and the changes year over year, all consistent with things I've just talked about. And then here's the restricted fund summary that shows the decrease and the decline in the federal grants and programs that we all have talked about a number of times during this spring. That's not worth talking about. And then lastly, the debt fund, there are two big takeaways here. One is we've almost paid off our lease purchases. That was computer equipment from 5 years. There was a number of years where we had ongoing 5 years, 5-year lease programs for computing equipment. We're almost out of that completely, and that saves the college about $300,000 annually at this point. And then you can see the revenue bonds, what the expected expenditures will be on that. I'll point out that the debt service doesn't show up here because if we issue revenue or the GO bonds, if we get the authorization for that, if we issue Series 1 January, February, what we're looking to do, that would generate the money. We would then be able to start spending that money, but it will be set up so that the first debt payment will be in the next fiscal year. All right, and I think, and this is a summary of, just a quick summary of the capital project. We're really trying to minimize our capital projects because we're really focusing on, okay, the GO bond is where we're really addressing a lot of that, but we do have ongoing life cycle equipment and life cycle replacement programs that we want to keep doing during the year. So that's it shows out, and it's in more detail in the board report on capital. Deferred maintenance, just doing normal annual work on deferred maintenance, about $9 million. IT equipment, about $5 million. Some equipment or some vehicles. And then I want to mention the downtown campus building renovations. So this is part of the college's efforts in the last couple of years to really consolidate our space and improve the use of our space. So that's the idea of moving out of district office. There are some renovations that we need to do at downtown campus to enable that. So there are currently existing buildings and space that will need some renovation so that we can complete the move out from district office. That will then free up district office for either deciding to sell it, deciding to lease it in a long-term way, either the land lease through a development project or something like that. But that the idea is consolidating, moving. We have underutilized space at downtown, and we can move district office there, but it does need some renovation, and that's what that project is, in case there were some questions about that. All right, with that, gets me through all of the different things I wanted to make sure we hit, and ask if the board has any questions.
All right, any questions for Dr. B? No? All right, let's start with 5.4 then, and we'll just work them through in order. So I'll make a motion to approve 5.4, the capital project plan for fiscal year 27, if there's a second.
I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, sounds good. And like second it then. So any discussion on 5.4? No, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm aye as well, that passes 5-0. Let's move on to 5.5, the fiscal year 27 employee salaries and wages. Is there a motion on 5.5?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Chair, I have a comment. I just really want to thank the college for recognizing that it's important to honor all of our employees by, as often as we can, giving them pay raises. Inflation is always occurring, so when we don't give our employees a pay raise, it's actually a decrease in your ability to spend your money. And I know that many of our employees didn't have pay raises very often for a decade or so. And so I think that they really appreciate that we value them enough to make this a priority of our expenses. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'll echo that too. I think I'm very proud that we were able to get to a place where not only we can continue to provide pay raises and step increases, but it's no small thing that we were able to design this budget to absorb the significant cost increases that we saw on the health insurance medical side. Some of our other educational institutions in town, TUSD most recently, we saw that they chose, because of the financial situation they're in, to pass that along in a greater way to their employees. But especially, like Dr. B mentioned, for employees who are lower on a salary scale, that can functionally result in a pay decrease when you do that. It not only absorbs or eats away all of what the increase might be if you're able to give one, but it eats into what their other salary is. So the fact that we were able to figure out a way to absorb all of that so that it doesn't impact our employees directly, that's no small feat. And I hope that anybody who's watching recognizes how significant that is, because it is not something that you see commonly, certainly in our public sector counterparts, but even in private sector counterparts for that matter. And also I just wanted to underline too, I was really happy we were able to get to a place where we saw that $2 increase in the faculty supplemental pay rate, especially if we're entering a period where we're looking at moving towards this 8-week class system to improve our completion rates and other student success outcomes. That takes a lot of extra work that falls under that supplemental pay range. So the fact that we're able to provide additional compensation for our faculty as they do that important work, I think is really important as well. I'm happy that was part of it. Any other comments on 5.5? All right, then we'll call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I'm aye as well. Passes 5-0. And let's move on to 5.6. This is just for the publication of the FY27 proposed budget. As Dr. B was talking about, we'll do the actual property tax levy and everything in the June meeting. Is there a motion on 5.6?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on 5.6? No, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm aye as well, so 5.6 passes. Moving on to section 6, is there any requests for future agenda items?
Chair Taylor.
Yes.
I would like to add a study session item as well as a regular agenda item for discussion, direction, action concerning the Office of Climate Action and Sustainability, its core functions, future functions, and mission.
Sounds good. Any other future agenda items? No. All right, then we move on to section 7, which is the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned. Thank you.